Hello, my darlings, and welcome to Radio Wasteland. We have a bit of a, mystery legend pissing match today.
Can you say that?
What is piss a bad word?
I don't know. Might as well say it a few more times, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad word.
Okay.
Well, we're testing the boundaries of radio.
That's not testing the boundaries. So today we have all brought some cryptids. For those who don't know what a cryptid is, a cryptid is a critter in this world that there is no proof exists, but people think exists.
We're not saying there's no proof.
Okay, there is no scientific proof.
Oh, boy. We're already off to a bad start.
No. We know.
Okay, it's not accepted by mainstream scientific experts?
Just to sum up, Bigfoot is a cryptid. Nessie is a cryptid.
There's some evidence.
Well, some evidence and, passing the scientific method are definitely two entirely
I feel like I have a problem. What? I feel like I have a problem.
You do have.
Joe already feels attacked.
Yeah. Totally. Joe's going to storm out of here crying. But luckily, Joe brought the manliest of all cryptids for us too. So basically, before we go on,
man in the name.
The premise of tonight's show is Battle of the Cryptids. We have all brought some of our favorite cryptids.
That's right.
On our Facebook page, a poll has just gone live with our favorite cryptids listed out, and you can vote and see who has the coolest cryptid. Now, I realize some people might hop in there and vote because, they're big fans of this, that, or the other thing, but you got to listen. Who knows? You might find out something that makes something cooler than you thought it was, except for one of them.
Wait, what do you mean, except for one of them? You're picking
now
on mine,
I'm
aren't you? Talking about mine.
Yeah. But, I didn't come very prepared. I came with what's in my head. You got a computer. You got these, chicken scratch on a piece of paper. I just came with what's in my head, so I'm a little worried about
Well, it occurred to me, I got like 10 tabs open of proof about my cryptids. Proof. But it occurred to me that I could see myself getting in a weird predicament here, because obviously already you guys are telling my cryptids aren't real, and I'm sitting here thinking...
I like one of yours.
I'm sitting here thinking, well, I kind of think their cryptids are real. So I feel like there's that it's all against me, and I believe in everything.
Anybody who has listened to this show before, and if you're out there, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mom.
Knows that Joe believes in everything.
I don't mean to. There's some good cases, though.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't think Chauncey's cryptids are real either. So
yeah, that's right. I don't even know what yours are. We'll have to find out, I guess.
Are yours?
Yes, that's why I chose them.
Oh, all right. So the pissing match begins.
Yeah. I think, after doing research, it was fun because, doing research on my cryptids, which I have been doing for 40 years now, but doing further research, there's all kinds of cool things out there. I mean, the cryptids is a really fun topic.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been going on since, the dawn of recorded history that we know of, cave paintings down to,
right. And so for this show to classify, so some of the cryptids, well, I guess here's what I'm wondering. For instance, there's crocodiles in India that people say don't get over 21 feet. And everyone talks about these 24-foot and 30-foot crocodiles, right? So would those be considered a cryptid if there's no evidence that they really got that big, but people say they see them, or is that not a cryptid?
I don't think that would be considered a cryptid. And there's actually, I believe on Wikipedia, there's some, more rigorous definition. But I believe unusually large specimens of a known animal don't count.
For this peeing match, is that a cryptid or is that not a cryptid?
I think it has to be shockingly larger.
Okay. Like Godzilla.
But not that shocking. But I mean, if they get 20, if they get 21 feet, basically, if you could look at it from a distance and go, that's way bigger than any crocodile I've ever seen. I think that counts.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah, that's not so scientific, by the way, but okay.
Right. Well, I mean, the premise of the show is not exactly
scientific.
Right. Okay. As the resident skeptic, I have to say that science is
questionable.
Yeah, it's a moot point.
Yeah, right.
I know there are several physics professors just listening, and they're fuming right now, I'm sure.
Totally, because physics professors are just all, Bigfoot's totally real!
Yeah.
That's true. Physics probably wasn't the best choice there. Biology, maybe.
We know Neil deGrasse Tyson is not going for any of this.
He doesn't believe in Bigfoot?
No, he's
He believes in
rudely pragmatic.
Well, he believes in string theory, but not Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Checkmate, string theorist.
I'm going with string theory, though. I'm the skeptic.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
I'm a follower of the string theory.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't caught this from our unintelligible ramblings, the premise of today's show is Battle of the Cryptids.
Now, can they call in? They can call in.
They can call in.
What's the number, Chauncey?
The number is 530-605-4567. If you got a cryptid, or if you got some backup for one of us, we sure could use it. But we also have a poll on Facebook. That poll's going to run for about a week. And what's the winner get?
What does the winner get?
The winner gets a show about their cryptid.
An entire show?
An entire show.
All right.
Stakes have never been higher.
The stakes have never been higher.
Yeah, this could be fun, right? I mean, cryptids, this really could be fun.
Isn't it fun already? Yeah. It's currently happening, Joe.
It's currently happening. I know, I'm just excited.
All right, so you're listening to Radio Wasteland. When we come back from the break, Battle of the Cryptids begins. All right, and welcome back to Radio Wasteland for Battle of the Cryptids. Are you about ready there, Joe, to state?
Knock it out of the park. But here's the weird thing, though, about this. I'm not sure I'm stating my case that my cryptid definitely exists, okay? It just might.
You're the advocate.
I'm the advocate. Okay, that's what it is. I'm the advocate for this cryptid. It could or couldn't exist. I don't know, okay?
Yeah.
But it's a great cryptid. Okay, so my cryptid is, and I always say it wrong, Megalodon. Megalodon, the giant shark, which I normally say Megmalodon.
Megmalodon.
Yeah, because I started reading about sharks when I was like 9 years old.
It's like a cross between a fish witch and a,
I don't even know.
Big king.
Yeah. So I started reading and that stuck. Okay, so Megalodon is a giant shark that supposedly existed millions of years ago, but the reason it's a cryptid...
We know it existed millions of years ago.
Well, I said supposedly existed. It might still exist now.
I see.
The reason it's my cryptid is because there have been stories and sightings of something pretty big that looks like a giant 60-foot shark. Now, think about it. 60-foot shark, that's like a school bus. Actually, it could swallow a car, right? You could stand like 9 people. Its teeth were 7 inches. Each tooth was 7 inches tall. I mean, it was a huge shark. So anyways, it's a cryptid because it for sure existed millions of years ago, but there are sightings. One of the sightings was in World War II. There's actually a World War II picture, supposedly, that's going around the internet, which seems to have some kind of support behind it, of some U-2 boats. What do you call those? Those
U-boats.
U-boats, thank you. Not
U2 is the band.
U-boats. Yeah, they're floating out there in the middle of the ocean, and a bunch of guys are on top just staring at this giant shark, almost as long as the boat's going by, right? So supposedly this shark died 1.6 million years ago or so, lived in fresh water, ate whales. They've even found its teeth in whale bones, so they know it's eating whole whales. Yeah,
saying whale-eating shark is a little like saying bear-eating kitten. You know, it's got to be one scary kitten.
Yeah, right, bear-eating kitten, good point. Yeah, so the reason they think it went extinct is because it was used to warm water, and as the seas got colder and whales moved out into the cold water, they couldn't follow, and eventually they died. However, it could still be there. There are sightings of something called a black devilfish, something like that, in the Sea of Cortez, which is some giant shark that boats apparently hit, and it breaks their props and all kinds of crazy stuff.
You know, one of my defenses for believing in the possibility of the Megalodon still existing...
Not Megmalodon.
No, not the Megmalodon.
Yeah.
Is that we know more about the moon than we know about the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, and I feel like I could go on and on forever with this particular cryptid, and I'm going to do one more little bit. So, that same point, there are still new sharks being found even as late as 2015. Full shark species that we're still finding. So why isn't it possible that the shark's roaming around out there in the deep seas and we haven't found it? And to further that point, there appears to be evidence that a tagged 9-foot-long great white shark, look at me, I'm looking at you guys like I'm about to jump on you, a 9-foot tagged great white shark with a tag in it, instantly the tag shows that it started diving down deep in the water, and then the temperature of the water went from the ambient temperature to 78 degrees, which would be the temperature of inside a fish. That tag then stayed around really deep, thousands of feet, popped up, came to shore, and they found it, and it had been eaten by stomach acids.
Leading us to believe something either took a bite out of that great white.
Or ate the great white.
So before we move on, just for an understanding, do you know how big, because when we see a great white on TV and a guy in a cage, it's absolutely terrifying. How big are we dealing with your average largish great white shark? Okay,
so a really large great white, a huge great white would be 17 feet, 20 feet, 15 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So let's say 20 feet.
Yeah.
And so this megalodon is
60 feet.
At least three times as big.
At least 3 times big. And just think about the girth that comes along with that.
Right.
I mean, it's almost, a great white shark, would look like it's thin.
Yeah, the one thing that I read about them today was that they have great white has about a 1-ton bite pressure, and that the megalodon had something like 10 times that.
Yeah, 23,000 pound per square inch bite pressure.
Yeah.
It basically, when it attacked a whale, it bit it in half.
Right. That's absolutely terrifying. Okay,
yeah. Well,
megalodon, pretty cool.
Yeah.
We all got to admit that that's pretty cool. There's a whole week dedicated to sharks. Everybody likes sharks, whatever.
Okay, yeah, good point.
Yeah. Okay, so I got the chupacabra. Right. Are you guys familiar with the chupacabra?
The old goat sucker.
I am.
The Mexican goats, you're familiar with it?
Do you have one?
I mean, intimately, yes.
Yes.
Do you have one? Do you have a pet? Will you bring it?
Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Why not?
Not the capybara, but the chupacabra.
Oh!
Yeah, chupacabra, Mexican goat sucker.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the chupacabra, the only evidence of the chupacabra that we've ever found is corpses.
Wait, you mean there's been corpses chupacabras found?
No, of its victims.
Oh.
Animals drained of their blood, goats specifically, but several other types of livestock, drained of blood entirely. And then eyewitness sightings, and it's mostly Latin American. So South America, Central America, a little bit of Mexico. We associate it a lot with Mexico because, logistics. But the chupacabra is new in the world of cryptids. Really only the past, I would say, 20 or 30 years, people started seeing them, and there was like a rash of sightings, maybe 10 years ago. But for some reason, man, they caught on, and I think the reason why they caught on and what makes them so cool is the vampiric sort of blood-sucking.
Totally.
Yeah, there's something about blood-sucking that's just kind of cool,
Yeah, it's not as cool as Megalodon. Or
yeah, cool. It's not going up.
No, yeah.
So what is the chupacabra supposed to be?
Well,
Animal of some kind?
This is the hard part. The chupacabra's so, it's got all this other cool stuff, but here's the hard part. The hard part is there's about 4 different looks for the chupacabra that people have cited them, and the look of the chupacabra is not very consistent. Some of it is on 2 legs walking like a man, and then varying degrees of that down to walking on 4 legs. Some are very bony, and some are reptilian and skinnish. Nothing really furry, but definitely some diversity there.
So what do you think that does to your cryptid story, that there's so many different versions of it? Are they different versions of that same one, or is it there are a whole bunch of different animals out there? What is?
It's obviously a shapeshifter.
Obviously. I think people are scared to death. Mm-hmm. I think they're absolutely terrified, and when they're terrified, they don't see things very well.
And it's killing goats or all kinds of livestock?
All kinds of livestock, but mainly goat-sized livestock. So we're dealing with sheep. Every once in a while it's taken down a cow or something, but for the most part, small livestock.
I don't feel like this cryptid could win. Can I already be calling the race? It kills goats.
I mean, if we're arguing, if we're arguing like who would win in a fight, right? I mean, you already kind of brought out the big guns. It's the megalodon,
right?
But
what?
If we're arguing on the basis of who could win in a fight on the basis of they exist and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, what if the fight took place on the streets of Vegas? I think Megalodon would lose rather quickly.
If he could even get there.
You go flopping home.
Yeah. That's fair.
So the Chupacabra, I looked into this thing and there really wasn't much to it. I picked mine prior to doing my research. I didn't do my research and then be, that guy's going to win. I picked mine. And it's really kind of amazing how popular the Chupacabra became so quickly with so little evidence.
Why is that?
I think the vampiric aspect of it was very cool. I think the Latin aspect of it was cool. I think the fact that it was an American, maybe not North American, but American in general, made it, because the only real other cryptids we have here are probably Champ and, I guess Thunderbirds are here.
Both of my cryptids are from the USA.
Right. You're right. But I think the big known ones, that are, because there are a lot of sightings.
Mine are indie cryptids.
So. Yeah, totally. Emo cryptids.
Now, I wonder, I don't know how much time we have, but I wonder how much of a coincidence it is that at the same time that the Chupacabra's kind of been taken off, the leopards have been coming into the United States and Southern America. They've been migrating up and actually coming in. We've actually been seeing leopards in the United States that we haven't seen in, 50, 100 years, something like that.
And they suck all the blood out of things.
Well, they do have fangs. They do have fangs.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, I think, ultimately that would be the skeptic argument towards a lot of these things.
Yeah.
All right. So, coming up, we got a little ditty from Sean. We won't say what it is until it happens. You are listening to Radio Wasteland. All right, welcome back to Battle of the Cryptids on Radio Wasteland. Up next, we got Sean. Sean, what cryptid did you
I'm
bring
not
us?
the cryptid. But
well, that's debatable. That's totally
He's on
debatable.
video.
The cryptid in this case... Is it grainy? Is it sepia? No, it's not. The cryptid in this case is Mothman.
Mothman, absolutely terrifying name. All right.
I feel like you're making fun of me, but...
Wait, they don't even have teeth. Moths don't even... Well, there's a man, so maybe it's a moth.
People have teeth.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
All right.
But, you may disagree once I walk through some of the stories of what happened with Mothman.
All right, tell us about the Mothman.
So, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, 1966. 5 men were digging a grave, as people do in graveyards.
Especially 5 guys, yeah.
Sure. They spot what they think is a giant bird flying towards them, but as it gets closer and closer, they all come to the conclusion this is not a bird, this is a man-sized creature with gigantic wings. So they report this to the paper, and there's an article in the paper about it that says, huge man-bird creature thing spotted, and it's just the short little blurb. No one really knew what to do with it. But then a couple weeks later, 2 young couples are driving through the area near Point Pleasant, and they spot this thing again. And they get a much clearer look at it. It is a man-sized being with apparently no arms, 2 gigantic wings coming out of its back, and glowing red eyes. So they're in a car, their headlights are shining right on it, and it seemingly takes no notice, and they are freaked out. So they start driving really fast back towards town, and it starts following them. Now, it was later reported that they coaxed the old Chevy they were driving up to 100 miles per hour, and it continued to follow them. And
That's like Maybelline. That's pretty fast for
Yeah.
an old Chevy.
Well, that's kind of not the remarkable part.
Sorry.
It's pretty fast for an organic
A man with
flying.
I totally missed that point too, Sean. I was like, wow, that is fast. You're right, Chauncey.
So anyway, it broke off once they got to town. But throughout 1966, nearly 100 people spotted Mothman. One person spotted it on a roof. One person spotted it in his yard. One other person was driving along the road, and it also chased him. And he apparently got his vehicle up to 75 miles per hour before it broke off. And they all describe it as looking similar. You know, no real defined head, huge wings, white or grayish body, glowing red eyes.
And then the whiter grayish body is probably why they went with the Mothman moniker.
Yeah, that's probably correct. Some describe it as being covered in fur, some describe it as being covered in feathers, so on and so forth.
Did it hurt anybody?
Now, here's the weird thing. So about a year afterwards, no one's seen Mothman for a while, but people start having weird dreams. One person has a dream that they said was about Christmas presents and drowning people. That's all they could remember from it. Another person has another disturbing dream, but lots of people are having dreams about death, and they all strangely attribute these dreams to Mothman for no apparent reason. They just say, you know, this creature is causing our weird dreams. And then a little while later, on December 15th, the nearby Silver Bridge collapses, and about 100 people die. And, lots of people coming back from Christmas shopping. And what do people spy in the water but Christmas presents and drowning people?
Wow.
Also, Mothman was sighted by several people.
Yeah, wasn't he on top of the bridge?
Yes, he was sighted on top of the bridge.
But now, was he not sighted after that? So, I mean, does Mothman exist in the Cryptid Hall of Fame just for a period of time?
He was sighted before and after that. There are historical accounts around the turn of the century
of
Mothman, but his peak activity was 1966 and 1967.
And has there been more sightings since?
There have been a couple sightings since. Frankly, I find them a little bit dubious, at least in comparison to the older ones.
And what made the older ones less dubious?
Well, there were so many people who described exactly the same thing under circumstances that were less suspicious.
And I can't have a giant great white shark?
A lot of... I mean, some of these people were with other people at the same time, as in the gravedigger examples and the couple examples. You know, some people were coming home from work at just
all right, I gotta admit, even though Mothman was in a movie with Richard Gere, I have to say Mothman was cooler than I thought Mothman was going to be.
Right.
So,
Some
props to
kind of
Mothman. Don't
weird
forget to...
harbinger of death thing.
If you're a fan of the Mothman, don't forget to vote on our poll there on Facebook. All right. On to Joe.
Oh, yeah, my second one. Really?
Yeah.
Really? We go from Mothman to my next one, which you guys have shamed me over.
I didn't say anything about it.
Come on, get it out there.
All right. So my cryptid is mermaids and mermen, both the masculine and feminine. You could go...
Don't want us to think you're not an equal opportunity.
Right.
Apologist.
Right. Okay, so here's the thing. You know, did you all watch that Discovery Channel fake documentary about mermaids? Did you two watch that?
No, but are you citing a fake documentary?
No. No, but I will state this. Okay, so mermaids have been spotted going back to like Egyptian times. The sirens in that story, which I just forgot, the Iliad or whatever it is.
The Odyssey.
The Odyssey.
The other one.
The other one. Yeah, they were thought to be mermaids. They're in glyphs and all kinds of things. Well, even Christopher Columbus went back with stories about seeing a mermaid. Now, having said that, I think there's a little bit of a blur probably when you start looking at manatees and things like that probably kind of resemble what someone might think is a mermaid. They got big tails and arms.
I have always had a problem with this. You know, I love manatees, dugongs, into a man. Hella cute. But when I look at these things, I don't think, that looks like a woman.
Yeah. So I think like in the same vein of vampires being Hollywoodized into, you know, great looking creatures, I don't think that all the stories of mermaids and mermen were of these beautiful creatures that are, hot. I think that was a lot to do with, Hollywood, and also ships have been at sea for a long time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So anyways, I admit that there's, even Christopher Columbus, he writes about it. He says he saw him, and I could see where when he saw him, it could have been a dugong or a manatee, that kind of thing. However, that documentary had some good points, that fake documentary. And one of the points in that fake documentary, which got me thinking that mermaids could be real, is how adaptive humans have been, right?
The aquatic primate.
Yeah, the aquatic primate. Thank you very much. See, are you going to vote for my cryptid?
I am very familiar with the aquatic primate and the belief that one of the reasons why we are not as hairy as other primates is because we actually spent a time on the coastline or living in water.
Yeah, or share genetics with ones who did take off on that line.
Right.
We might have spent some time in the shallow waters for a long period of time, and then maybe we were cut off to the rest of land for whatever reason, and we went the other way. Maybe there's some aquatic primates who went the other way. We are, I believe, the only primates with webbed fingers in between, right? Not as much hair. It's starting to make sense, isn't it?
Some of us.
Yeah, some of you, Chauncey.
I know.
You're closer to Bigfoot.
I am.
So that's why I picked mermaids, is because, I kind of like that theory that, first off, they've been seen throughout history, so something's out there, right?
They got longevity on their side.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That's true.
They do. And so this, where there's smoke, there might be fire. But then on top of that, there is that aquatic primate, the aquatic ape idea that we're somehow related, and it just makes sense.
Smoked mermaid. That
Smoked mermaid.
That sounds really good.
Somehow
That's
that sounds
all I'm
illegal.
thinking about.
Would you eat smoked ape?
I don't know.
Aquatic
It depends on
ape.
how
All right.
tasty it is.
They eat monkey brains.
Yeah, that's true. So anyways, that's my mermaids.
It makes a lot of sense.
Now, there's been some really neat videos and pictures that, of course, look realistic. Who knows, right? But there's pictures of what looks like a fast-moving, mer woman swimming across by the camera. There's one of somebody in Japan bringing up one of the fish nets, and in the fish net you see something wiggling around, and then it's a guy that kind of pulls his way out and with a tail jumps back in the water, right? So there's some really neat video out there that's probably not true, but who knows?
What about all the freaky little bodies that have been embalmed of mer people?
Yeah.
Have
The
you
Fiji mermaid.
Yeah.
So the Fiji mermaid, which may or may not be true, but interestingly enough, I think that's where Christopher Columbus saw his first mermaid, was around the Fiji Islands. So, who knows?
Yeah. All right. That's
Okay, right?
I was ready to come down on mermaid. I really hope mermaid doesn't win, because then we have to do a whole show on mermaids.
Which I so could.
You could do a whole show on. You'll just cite your mockumentary.
That's right.
All right. Radio Wasteland. Vote on our Facebook page. See who the coolest cryptid is. I almost said mermaid. See who the coolest mermaid is, or give us a call at 530-605-4567. You're listening to Radio Wasteland. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. It is Battle of the Cryptids. So, where are we at? We're at me?
Yes, I think so.
All right, I brought, and Joe says I'm cheating. First of all, how's our vote look online there, Joe? Who's winning?
All right. So far, the one you're about ready to talk about is already number or is tied for number one with one that you haven't talked about yet.
So apparently,
That is bizarre.
by not talking about them,
They're winning. Apparently, I have
no.
convinced everyone not to vote for mine.
We're actually making them worse.
Yeah, I
Sucking
can't even tell you.
votes away.
who has the least amount of votes? Anybody?
No, there are two tied for number one, which you two are about to talk about, and then mermaids, megalodon, mothman, and chupacabra are all in last place. Same amount of
I
votes.
see. All right.
How
Okay.
many votes?
Well, here's mine, and Joe says I'm cheating. And it's the plesiosaur. Anybody who doesn't know what a plesiosaur is, it's basically a dinosaur. Think of the long necks from the Land Before Time. Probably a good reference for all the educated folk out there. Only it's got little flippers, and it hangs out in the water. And basically, it is what a lot of people have assumed was Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster.
Right.
And I chose plesiosaur because there's also Champ in Lake Champlain, who has also been equated with being a plesiosaur. So my cryptid is not all the other things that these things might be. My cryptid is
The plesiosaur.
the plesiosaur.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? You anti-plesiosaur?
Yeah, as I grew up, I wanted to be all about Loch Ness.
Yeah.
Right? That was because that was the one story you hear about when you're growing up. Well, if you're
Yeah.
older than Sean.
Yeah, that was definitely,
Yeah.
Well, okay.
turned into a lot of kids' movies during your time, I think.
Yeah, it kind of... Nessie kind of sold out, I think.
You think so?
Totally. Yeah.
Kind of-
Yeah, it became the
he went-
seahorse or
he
whatever
went
that was.
Mainstream.
Yeah, the water
And
horse.
Yeah, water horse. My favorite X-File, though, is... Do you remember that X-File?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So,
So I find this one to be very believable because, as we were saying when we were doing the Megalodon, there's a lot in the ocean. Notice I didn't say it during the mermaid, but I did say it during the Megalodon. There's a lot in
Somebody
the
broke
ocean
my
that we just haven't been able to find. And
We're talking about lakes, though. Not the
well, Loch Ness is connected to the ocean.
and it's one deep, deep lock.
ocean. Okay.
It is underground, connected to the ocean, and then Champ in Lake Champlain, that's connected to the ocean as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, there is one scientific, really interesting thing that happened in Loch Ness, if you ask me. And Chauncey's looking at the clock because I babble too much. There was a sonar scan that went through there, and a lady who is an expert with dolphins and whales listened with a microphone through the whole loch. And she actually heard in the loch, recorded it, something that would be similar to a dolphin or something like that hunting, but a sound she's never heard before. And it definitely was an animal. It was definitely pinging like a dolphin or a whale might, but totally unique sound.
There you have it. Mine speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Vote for the
that's interesting.
plesiosaur.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that the old school sightings of Hudson, as he was, coming to America and mapping the area, he was a sighting of Champ.
Of Champ, that's right.
Right. And then the Native Americans around there had tons of stories about this as well.
So your plesiosaur is Champ and Loch Ness. It's the plesiosaur that somehow made it and living in the lakes.
Right.
Yeah, because that's true. There's places that when he was trying to come across and he was coming with the Indians, they wouldn't cross.
Right.
Because of the thing that would eat the horses.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then before we move on, here's the other interesting thing about Loch Ness, and that is supposedly quartz deposits at the bottom, which supposedly
Time travel.
might be time travel. And so the reason why it's coming and going is that it's actually passing through a time portal from the Triassic or whenever it is from period and coming up and looking
Total
around.
plot twist there.
Well, I'm just saying there's a lot of options here, a lot of options for this.
I think he's trying to waste time so you can't get your next cryptid in there.
All right,
That's
let's
okay,
hear it.
actually. Well,
I got to tell you, your last one has the coolest name. What is it?
the Jersey Devil.
Oh, boy.
Now, I don't actually have as much to say about the Jersey Devil as I do for Mothman, but back in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey in the 1700s, there was a woman everyone called Mother Leeds, and she had 12 children, and she got pregnant again. And she was so upset by this.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
we all would be, right? And she says, my next child is going to be the devil, because she was so upset by this. And when this child was born, according to witness reports, it rapidly underwent a horrifying transformation into a horse-like creature, though bipedal and with bat wings. And it just kind of burst out of the house and flew away. And since then, off and on, particularly around the turn of the century, 1909-ish, it has been cited a number of times, almost by as many people as Mothman, just flying around in the sky. At one point, some soldiers fired a cannon at it, and they said they hit it, the shot was true, but it had no effect.
The shot was true. That's how you know that the quote is actually from 1909.
The shot is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's also how I talk, but that is
Right.
that is the quote. And yeah, it's, as I understand it, been sighted every now and again since then.
So here's something interesting, Sean. Mm-hmm. So this actually sounds familiar to the Mothman a little bit. It's got wings. And
I
it's
chose
tall.
them because they're kind of similar creatures, and creatures similar to these two have been spotted all over the world.
Yeah.
Singapore, in several places.
In Greenwich, during December 1925, a local farmer shot an unidentified animal as it attempted to steal his chickens. I'm also thinking the chupacabra. And then photographed the corpse. Afterward, he claimed that none of the 100 people he showed it to could identify it. And on July 1937, an unknown animal with red eyes. This is under the Jersey Devil.
That's right.
With red eyes, seen by residents. So I mean, these are some similar animals here.
There are a number of cryptids that fall into the category of gigantic winged creature with red eyes.
Yeah, bipedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mothman and the Jersey Devil both fit that mold, and so do a couple of others.
So could these be devils? I mean, are these demons and devils? Are they a cryptid? What are these? Do these cross over into our other shows?
Well, I mean, if you believe in demons and devils, they very much could be. I'm not.
I don't think
much
that makes them not a cryptid. I don't.
Well, I don't know if demon or devil counts as a cryptid. That's for the possession show.
That's fair.
But I find these little colloquial ones to be a little bit more believable when you have a small town that all believe in it, more so than a bunch of people who are, let's say, going to see Nessie. Yeah. I'll even shoot mine down a little here, who are making money off of it.
Right.
Exactly.
And instead you have this small town of,
And this was the turn of the century, but Point Pleasant was 1960s.
Right. Basically a town of terrified people. They're not making money off of this. I mean, in the end, maybe they have the Jersey Devil Cafe or something. But
I think they made a statue of Mothman.
All right, so our poll is going to be going on Facebook for about a week. The winner gets a coveted show about their cryptid. So if you'd like to know more about your cryptid, you go on Facebook and you vote. This has been Radio Wasteland.
Jersey Devil, people.